In this video, let's get some basic understanding about the lambda function. So, what is an lambda function? So, it's an anonymous function, shorter inline function. It can have multiple input and only one output. So, lambda function is an anonymous function, means we don't have any name to call. And it's a one line function, means it write in a single line, and it can have multiple input but it only give one single output. So this is called as lambda function. So in the previous video we saw about some function that is called as name function. So to how we define the name function, so we use the keyword def, and for sum of two number we first give the name of that function, then we mention about the number of inputs. Okay, number of inputs, then we put colon and we return the expression. We return the expression for a plus b. Then when we call that sum function, like with the two inputs, it give us the result of 5. So this is a named function. So lambda function is an anonymous function, means it don't have any name, and single inline function. So we write all the expression in single one line. So let's see how to define the lambda function of adding two numbers. So for named function we defined with the keyword def. For lambda function we start with lambda. Okay, lambda, then we write a number of input, for example x comma y. This is the number of inputs that I am giving. Then I want to put one colon, then I write the expression, that is written expression, that is x plus y. So this is my lambda function. When I run this, yeah, function main the lambda function. But how to call this function? We don't have any name for this, as in the named function we have the name for the my function, that is sum, so I can call it by using that name. But in lambda function we don't have any name to call that function. So if I want to use it, how can I call this function? So we, while defining lambda function, we store that function in any variable, for example d. So my lambda function now is stored in the variable d. So whenever I want to call that function, I use d. Within bracket, I want to give two inputs, that is 2 and 3. Then I run this. Okay, d 2 comma 3. D is not defined. Run. Yeah, I got a result 5 because my lambda function is stored in variable d. Okay, when I run this, it stored the lambda function is stored in d. After that, I will call the lambda function that is stored in d. Then I will give two inputs. It will give me the sum of two numbers. So the result in both the function is same, but the difference is here we use a named function by defining the sum as a name of that function. Here we use a lambda function, that is one inline function. We wrote all the code within a line, that is input. This is about input part. After that colon, that is the expression that will return the value. So in order to call that function we need to store that in one variable. So we store it that lambda function variable d. Then if I want to call that, I will use d. Within bracket I will give two inputs, then it will give me the result. So this is a simple understanding about lambda function. So lambda function is an anonymous function that don't have, means it don't have any name, and it's an inline function, means it write in one single line. Then it can have multiple input but only write only one output. So it can give only one output. Then in lambda function there are three mainly three mostly used function along with lambda function. That is function used along with lambda function. That is map, filter, and reduce. So first I will explain about the map. Okay, map. Let's see about map. What is the map function do is, for example, if I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, I have the list of 1, 2, 3, 4. Then for this list, I want to calculate a square of all number within a list. If I want to calculate using the named function, it is very easy. But in lambda function, how can I do this? So lambda function give only here. If I want to calculate the square, I can give it like I can write one expression here. But for list, how can I do that? That time I will use map. So I will use map. In that map, I will define lambda. Then I take one input. I will do the expression as 2 means square. Then from A. So what will it do is it take x input and do the square of that from A. It take input that is 1, 2, 3 from A and it will do the square. As I used map over here, it will take every element from A. So I include this in a list so that I can get the output in a list format. Then I want to store it in B. So let's see what will happen. So it's giving me an error that is list in this must integer slices not tuple means lambda in A. First I will run this. Okay, I have to give equal sign because I want to design that. Then run this. If I see the B over here, it will give the square of all numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. What if I don't use the map over here? So let's understand the importance of the map just by removing the map. Then I will run this. It will give me the error. List expected at most one argument. We got 2. Means it not go through all the input. So I will use the map to go through all the input. It is all the input of A and do this expression and return the value. If I now run this code, if now I run this code, it giving me the result. If I change the value 5, 6, 7, let's see. Yeah, it's working. So this is how we can use map. So map is basically used to go through all the element of a variable. That is A, we defined over here. So this is how we can use map. So this is way we use map with lambda. So there is another function that is used with lambda, that is filter. So I'll just use filter over here. In the place of map, I will use filter now. So what will the filter do is filter check for an condition. In the place of expression, if I write condition like modulus divided by 2 equal to 0 means what is the condition checking for? If each element in A is equal to 0 means even, checking for even number, it will write it in a B list. So if I run this code, if now I check the B, that is filled with only even number. So if I include any of the odd number like 1, 3, 7, that won't include because I use the filter with lambda. So what the lambda filter with lambda do is it will filter out based on this conditional expression. Okay, based on this, which of the value give the x means is the input here. Like it will take 1 and divided by 2 is equal to 0. It check it shows no, that don't include that. Then it take 2, check for the expression. Like x means 2 modulus divided by 2 is equal to 0. Yes, condition fulfilled. Then it write in the B. This way it check for all the element. So this is the use of filter. So basically it's used to filter the data. Then I have another function, that is reduce function. To use reduce, we have to first import that from tools, import reduce. So I will run this. Yeah, then I want to reduce means if I do, and another thing about reduce is it take two inputs x and y. For example, this is my list. It will take two input from the list, first two inputs, that is 1 and 2. Then it will do the operation whatever we do here. Like if you want to plus y. So first I run this code. Reduce int object not iterable. Okay, don't need to list over here because it will automatically convert that into list. If I run this code, then let's check for B. It will give 23. What does it means? It's adding all the element within that list. That is, reduce is how the reduce work is. It will first this 2 means x and y. This 2 is it add it. It become 3. Then after that, this result 3 and take another input, that is y. 3 plus 3 6. Then 6 become 1 x like x. Then it will take next 4 as y. 6 plus 4 10 like this. 10 plus 6 16. 16 plus 7 23. If I just change the operator here, it will give the multiplication all the element within the list. So this is the use of reduce in lambda. So just understand, the lambda function is an anonymous function. In short inline function, it can have multiple input but only one expression. So for one single variable, single input, we'll use like definition def sum in the name function. But in lambda function, you just use lambda x comma y, x plus y. That's the sum of two number. So here we know how many input we have. But it can also work for the list. When you working for the list, we will use the three main functions, that is map, filter and reduce. Map is basically do the operation. Okay, do the operation for each element within a list. And filter is to filter the data based on the your condition. And reduce is to calculate some expression for all that in that list. So this is a basic about the lambda function. So thank you.